All right, this is your final assessment for English 1 for the spring 2020 school year. You are only doing this final assessment if you were not passing on May 15th. So there should only be a couple of you. So what you're going to do today, it's just looking at the outline. You're not going to do anything other than turn in the purple, it says it's a quiz, but the Google Forms. And that is just going to say that you understand what you're supposed to be doing. So this is the final assessment. We're going to go through all of it today. So your job is to take a scene from Romeo and Juliet. You're going to put it in your own words. You're going to modernize it, which means you're going to make it set in Milwaukee 2020 instead of 1500s Verona, Italy. So the first thing you got to do is you got to pick a scene. So I give you 6 scenes to choose from. Monologue, mono means 1, so this means that one person is talking. Duologue, duo means 2, so that means this is a conversation between 2 people. Doesn't matter which of these 6 scenes you choose, you only have to pick one. So Act 4, Scene 1 is when Friar Lawrence explains his plan to save Juliet from marrying Paris. This involves the sleeping potion. Act 1, Scene 5 is when Romeo and Juliet meet at the party. Act 4, Scene 3 is when Juliet drinks the potion. Act 2, Scene 2 is what's called the balcony scene. That's when Romeo comes up to Juliet and says his romantic, poetic speeches, and Juliet says, "Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo?" Act 5, Scene 3 is when Friar Lawrence recaps the entire story. This is in the last scene when the prince comes and he wants to know what was going on. And then Act 3, Scene 5 is when Romeo and Juliet wake up together after they spent their first night in marital bliss. So you pick one of these 6 scenes and you rewrite it in your own words as if it was in Milwaukee 2020. So that means that you're going to be using slang. You can swear a little. It's up to you. So you might want to know, what does this look like? So I did an example for you. So this is the prologue. This is the very, very, very first thing that we see in Romeo and Juliet when it talks about 2 households, both alike in dignity and fair Verona, where we lay our scene. So this is like a summary of the play. And then I give my updated version here. So this is not in the play. This is me explaining what this would sound like in Milwaukee in 2020. Obviously, I'm even going to write different than you're going to write, so feel free to add any kind of slang that you want to make this interesting. But please notice that they have the exact same number of lines. I didn't make my version any shorter or any longer. I had the same. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines here. Mine is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. This is another 5 lines. This is another 5 lines. This is 4 lines. This is 4 lines. So I made sure that the original text is the exact same amount of lines as my updated version. Okay, so you might look at Shakespeare and be like, I don't know what any of this means, and that's fine. That's exactly what happens. So my recommendation is to watch the summary videos, or you can go to this website, SparkNotes/No Fear Shakespeare Romeo and Juliet, and you can just copy and paste this link. You're going to pick this scene, so if you chose Act 4, Scene 1, you'll pick that scene, and then it'll give you a modernized version of the old Shakespeare. So it'll give you an easier version to read, something that you would be able to read today. So it won't give you all these hard words. It'll give you an easy version that you can then put into your own words, if that makes sense. So I highly recommend that. You're not going to have to do this for a few days. So what's going to end up happening is you'll have to choose between 6 different Google Docs. You'll make a copy of one of the Google Docs, and this will already be in that for you. Okay. So once you're done with that, that's week 1. Week 2 is a theme analysis. So all you're going to do is write 2 paragraphs. It's going to take you an entire week. You're going to just write 2 paragraphs. Easy peasy. Your first paragraph is not going to have any quotes. It's just going to talk about the scene that you chose. So you'll pick the same scene. So if you chose to modernize Act 4, Scene 1, you're going to put it in your own words, and then you're going to talk about a theme that you see in that scene. So that theme could be love, death, identity, revenge, marriage, family, or violence. If you have trouble figuring out what the theme is, let me know. I'll help you pick a theme. So you'll pick a theme. After that, you're going to just talk about 2 quotes from that small section that you read and explain how those quotes show the theme that you chose. And this gives you the full, like, every single sentence what I'm looking for. So you're not going to have to worry about being creative on this part. You are already creative in the first part. This second part here is not where you be creative. This tells you exactly how to write both of your paragraphs. You'll see paragraph 1 is kind of short. Paragraph 2 is a little bit longer because you've got to talk about your quotes. But if you need help finding quotes, let me know. I love to help you find quotes. And you'll see there's an example of each sentence even that you have to write, just so you know exactly what I'm looking for. There's an example. Nicey nice. And this last part is just how you're being graded. It's only 100 points. But that's because this is 100% of your English grade right now. You only need a 60% or higher to pass English and get the credit for this trimester. So this is kind of important. So for your script, you got to have it typed. It's got to follow the format. You got to submit it in Google Classroom. That's an easy 25 points. The script, it's got to be modernized, which means it's got to sound like it takes place in Milwaukee 2020. It's got to have a theme, and you've got to have the same number of lines. So that's 25 points. This is already 50% was just writing the script. Your theme analysis, it's got to have those 2 quotes. You can't say things like I, me, my, believe, quote, or basically. It's got to follow that format that I give you with all those examples. It's got to follow that format, another 25 points. And then conventions. This is like punctuation, spelling, capitalization. It's got to follow some kind of, even though you're using slang, it's still got to have capital letters. It's still got to have periods and commas and everything like that. And that's another 25 points. So that's 100 points total. And that's it. It'll take you the 2 weeks. It will not be overwhelming. We'll do little bit by little bit every day. It won't be too bad. Please let me know if you've got any questions on this. Once again, this is day 1. You're just looking over this document. You're not picking anything or submitting anything quite yet. All right, and that's it, guys.